Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our school committee meeting. It is March 25th, 2026. At the beginning of every meeting, we read our vision statement. The Ashland Public Schools strives to be a model district that creates a culture of inclusivity for our diverse students and staff who feel safe and supported, are empowered with the academic and social-emotional skills to pursue their chosen path, and embrace their roles as positive contributors to local and global communities. This meeting is being recorded by WACA Cable TV. Our order of business this evening is our call to order, opening procedures, agenda review and adoption. We'll have some time for public participation. Our reports and presentations include the Warren School Student Chronicles, student writing with community volunteer Donna Shaw, override data slides with Paul Kendall, Warren approval, superintendent's report, which includes a budget update, assistant superintendent's report, action items, discussion updates, votes, student activities, bank reconciliations with Chris Matthew, appointment of a school committee member to the Driscoll Scholarship Committee. This next item, WACA AHS television studio use renovation. We will not have that officially on the agenda this evening because WACA is not presenting just yet, but Mr. Adams is going to share a few words about it. We will review the tri-board meeting minutes from December 10th, 2025 and January 21, 2026. And then our consent agenda includes approval of gifts and donations, minutes from March 11th, 2026. We'll have reports of school committee members, and then we will adjourn. Everybody okay with the order of business this evening?
Yes.
And I see that you're all here, Marcy, Tina, Paul, Mark, and I am here too. And we will start by asking the community if there's anybody who would like to offer public comment, either online or in the audience. Seeing none, we will move on to our first and best item on the agenda. Without a doubt, we've been looking forward to this for so long. The Warren School Student Chronicles. Welcome.
Thank you for having us tonight. I'm excited to share a project that's been happening for a few years now and was actually many years in the making. I've been very fortunate of just different school committee members that have been part of our site council, but one of our constants in the 10 years I've been here is Donna Shaw. Donna's been our community rep on our site council, and a few years ago Donna approached me of just saying, how can I help Warren classrooms? And the more we sat and talked, it was just more of being able to help her to fulfill that piece of passion that she has of working with children. And for all of us at the Warren School, it was how do we really take advantage of a great educator who wants to work with our students more and support our teachers who are trying to do more in the classroom. As Donna and I spoke, we spoke about the importance of writing and saying how can we have more writing occur for our students and more opportunities, and just the importance of that one-on-one conferencing with a teacher. So Donna created this idea to publish our students' work. And she goes into various classrooms, not only at the Warren School, but also at the Mendez School, and works with our teachers and ultimately with our children to help them revise their writing, edit their writing, and then finally publish their writing. Tonight I've asked 4 students from Miss Clifford's 2nd grade class to join us. They're going to be coming up to the podium in a moment. They're going to be introducing themselves. And they're also going to just talk a little bit about some of their favorite parts from working with Mrs. Shaw. And then they're going to read an excerpt from the last entry into the Chronicles.
Welcome. Can you tell us your name?
My name's Audrithia, and I'm from Miss Clifford's class.
Hello.
It's so cool to have your book published, and Miss Shaw helped me develop new skills to make my writing better.
Would you like to share some of your writing?
Yeah. This is my best friend, Venba, by Audrithia. Venba's 8 years old. She has a brother but does not have a sister. She is a kind girl and really tall. She's taller than her 1st grade teacher.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
You introduce yourself, please.
My name is Venba. I'm from room 20.
Can you tell them about what did you really enjoy about working with Mrs. Shaw?
I really like Miss Shaw because she's so nice and helps me develop my writing and teach me new words and how to spell things.
Wonderful.
Can you share a little bit of your writing?
My best friend is Audrey by Venba. My best friend is Audrey. She has a little sister. Audrey is so nice. And we both like restaurants.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I love how you wrote about each other. That's so kind. So nice to have a best friend in your class.
Hi, I'm Zatara and I'm in Miss Clifford's class. Because why I like Miss Shaw? Because she's really nice and helpful, and she helps me learn new skills and learn how to write new things and words, and add a lot of details.
Can you share a little bit of your writing?
All about ice skating. Hi guys, I'm going to teach you about ice skating. It is a sport. It's even in the Olympics. Both men and women can be in it.
That is wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Roman. I'm from room 20. What I like about working with Miss Shaw is that she helps me get better at writing and working harder and adding more detail.
Wonderful.
There are many college teams like Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Indiana.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. They're all good. They're great.
Good job, everybody.
You guys did such a wonderful job.
So, as you heard from our students, we're very fortunate to have Mrs. Shaw. So
Indeed.
Mrs. Shaw not only works with Miss Clifford's class, but as I mentioned, she's in many of our second grade classes, also some of our first grade classrooms. And it's one where it's not limited to this. Donna has put herself out there that anyone that would like her support, she's connecting with. And it's different teachers work with her throughout the year as well. And again, just something I wanted to highlight right here, of just one of those another amazing pieces about our community is here in Ashland that we have amazing individuals that are willing to dedicate themselves, their time, and their efforts to be able to help our children. So again, Donna, thank you very much for everything you've been doing.
Thank you so much, Donna. And thank you all for doing such a wonderful job. Yeah. Are you enjoying the time when Mrs. Shaw comes into your class and helps you write? Yeah. It sounds like your writing skills are getting so good.
And you're all published authors. We now have a copy.
I
of
know,
your
we have your book
That's
right
so
here.
Exciting.
And you want me to tell you something fun about your teacher, Mrs. Clifford? So I have a son, his name is Jake. He's 34 years old, and his teacher was Mrs. Clifford too, a long time ago. That's how awesome she is. She's, yes. And she's still young, so I don't know, like the math doesn't really add up, but yeah. Well, it was wonderful to have you guys here tonight, and I hope you continue working on your writing because you're already published authors. You could
right.
look how much you could do.
And I have a fun detail to share with you, too, that I got to work with Mrs. Shaw as a writer when I was a little kid, because guess what? Mrs. Shaw's my mom. Isn't that exciting? She's a great teacher. She helped me become a really good writer, too.
So nice.
Our
Yeah.
kitchen was covered in newspaper rolls. And my kids got to write from the time they were 2 years old. Then when we moved out of the apartment, I didn't realize it, but they wrote on the walls in the bedroom upstairs, downstairs in the kitchen, and I had to paint the whole place. But they became writers.
Yeah, and look where you are now. And I sit on site council with Mrs. Shaw. Whenever you talk about this program, your eyes light up, right, Pete? So it's such a great thing, and it brings the community together, and it's nice, I'm sure, for you to be able to still use all your talent.
Well, from the day I started teaching 55 years ago, I believed that in order to engage children and get them hooked on wanting to learn, you have to make it real. And if they're going to write, they got to publish. And that's where the seed for me grew. I wanted to put it in the newspaper because I did this when I taught in Milford. I did a full page in the newspaper every month for K to 12. And they taught me how to do the layout. I learned a lot, and I gained a lot. But when I started here in Ashland, I went back to the newspaper, and they said they would be more than happy to help me, but they couldn't give me a whole page because everything's digital now, and they don't have a whole page to offer us. So this is why it became a bound book.
Love it. I still like the real books, not the digital. So thank you all. It was wonderful to meet you all, and have a great rest of your year. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Great job.
You don't have to stick around. You're welcome to, but I can tell you that this is the only good part of the meeting.
Not the only good one.
Well,
The best part.
the best part.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you.
Before I leave, I want to say one thing, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that I have been in education for 55 years, and I've worked in many, many, many schools, but I have not met a system whose heart and soul and hard work is so directed and so into wanting to do the best for the students in Ashland. I've seen staff work together. I've seen staff collaborate with each other. I've seen staff concerned about their students in a way that I've not seen it in other schools. And I proclaim myself as a self-appointed cheerleader for the Ashland schools.
Thank you. Making me cry.
Thank you. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any tissues, Paul?
She is a
Who set this agenda? I don't want to follow that.
Yeah, good luck. I said it was the only good thing on the meeting.
data, don't you, Paul? Come on.
All right, so that means I'm up.
Oh, you're up.
All right, let me share this. All right. So I had reached out to Lori just because I had been preparing a bunch of slides and data in preparation for being able to talk about the override. And it struck me that I hadn't presented it here, so it would be odd for it to be out in the community and not be presented here first. So I'll just go through it. A lot of this is going to be stuff you already know, but this is what we've put together for some of the conversations. This is kind of sectioned. Each of these sections, I try to put a slide before it that scopes what the slides are going to be. And also, one of the things we've been talking about a lot is trying to make it consumable, and we use lots of words, and there's no way to not use some of the words, general fund, all these different other things, and so it also tries to define some of those terms, right? So the way we started is just trying to break down what drives the budget, what are the biggest components of the budget. So these are general fund expenditures for the entire town, and then you'll see that the education is 55%, fixed costs 16%, and then public safety. So those are the three big drivers. And at the bottom, it describes what fixed costs. So this is all from state data, and fixed costs are a category of state data. So this is from a Schedule A that is submitted to the state. And so fixed costs are essentially all benefits, including healthcare, unemployment, workers' compensation, and things like that. So obviously, the largest driver is education and those fixed costs.
Well, just quickly, what falls in that category of general government? Is that everything except public works and public safety? That's town hall and
I think that is the staff and stuff for the general government that doesn't fall into public works and public safety. So like DPW is in public works, and police and fire and public safety, and then obviously we have the town hall staff, so planning department.
library.
Yeah, I think all that general government stuff. So all of our planning departments, building, accountants and things like that are in that bucket. And then obviously the debt services to pay our bonds and other debt servicing. And then all of these are about it's not about trying to look at the data. It's more about objectively looking at it to show just visually what's driving the budget. And so we're, across the town, we're a people organization, right? For what drives the budgets most of the time is salaries and personnel and the services that they supply. And so here, this is talking about what drives the budget, and then the subsequent slides that are going to be data will address those things in order as well. So as you saw, salaries are the biggest driver. So the next slides are going to be about our expenditures relative to that. These also kind of tell you how to read the slides. So what these are going to be is a graph from FY14 through 25 typically, and a trend of our expenditures. So that will be the blue line, and then there's a green line that starts at the same spot and does an annual 2.5% increase. Just a rough approximation of what Prop 2.5 will allow. Obviously, it's not ever just that. There's new growth involved, but choosing that is, if I try to choose another number, it would be somewhat arbitrary. It is higher, but it's not substantially higher, obviously. If it's 3% or 3.5%, it wouldn't change the shape of the graphs at all. And then there's an orange dotted line just to try to show in the same kind of context of percentage what an annualized percentage would be that's close proximity to our actual expenses. So these are our salaries and how they relate to that line. 2 bullets at the bottom. I always try to understand this is general fund expenditures. We do pay about $1.5 million of salaries out of grants and other funding sources. And I try to keep it simple. The primary drivers of the shape of the line relate to our steps, lanes, and COLAs, right? And just I couple this with the next slide to put some context to this. So the next slide talks about our peer pupil expenditures. And this is FY24, which is the latest data from the state. And it shows that we are, the towns I showed as far as the graph are either ones that earn our Tri-Valley League or are part of our Accept Special Education Collaborative. But if you look at the data, we are ranked 361st out of 395 districts across the state. So there's only 34 districts that have a lower peer pupil expenditure than Ashland does. So anybody that would look at the previous slide and say we're spending too much on salaries, the data doesn't bear that out. Obviously, we're doing more with less because our performance would be at least the inverse of this statistic. If you can name me 34 districts that perform better in any objective category than us, good luck with that.
Can I just ask you a question about the prior slide, Paul?
Yep.
So the orange dotted says this 4.75% increase. So this isn't reflecting sort of the amount of pay increases that we've negotiated, like
no, yeah,
it's
so
overall cost with new positions.
Yeah. So it's just about the expenditures, and you'll see it doesn't line up perfectly because I just trying to keep it simple. I didn't try to get it exact. I went in 0.25 percentage increments up to, but not surpassing the line. So if I went to 5, it would be slightly above it. So we went there. So we can always say that it's more than that, because I don't want to make it sound worse than it is. But yes, that is not about our contracts or any of those things. And these professional salaries are all the professional salaries that we have. Also, basically all our bargaining units, essentially all our educators.
And Paul, does headcount affect that line? Because I'm assuming,
Certainly.
yes, so maybe put a note on that, because your headcount, if it went up, like that's some of that.
Yes, but, I can put a slide together. I do have graphs around that. So our staffing went up with our enrollment and peaked in 2021. And since that time, we're down 40 FTEs.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not looking to
No, it's one of those things I try to balance.
anticipate the question.
Yeah, I try to balance how, how many slides and how much data, but when that comes up, I can prepare a slide for it. I already have a graph that I've shared with Jim on that. So
Yep.
I did ask Chris for the historical FTE and enrollment, and while our enrollment continues to go up, but is leveling off, our FTEs are actually down, I think, to the level they were in FY17.
Okay, yeah, that
So-
would be good to,
Yeah, so it's not that we're adding, it's not that we're overspending. Obviously, our per pupil expenditures bear that out.
Yep.
And when people ask, what have you been doing? What have you haven't been cutting? And quite frankly, we have.
Yeah.
So,
I think just from the feedback that I've heard from a few people who have certain opinions about this, there's always the misperception that if you have a $45, $50 million budget, you can always just cut, and that you're not, and there's more to be done, and so I think those points really are important.
yeah, I can prepare that slide and publish that, just to at least have it, so when the answer or the question comes up, bring it up. Right now, it's still in Excel, so I won't bring it up here, but I do have that, have all that graphed. I know that you're surprised by that, but
like a data ninja.
He is a data ninja, I like that.
Paul's the only person who
That's
actually
his new
enjoys this part of the
nickname,
project,
Data Ninja, I
Yeah.
like that.
Love it.
It's very fitting.
I was just gonna go with geek, but you're much nicer.
So the next two slides, they're going to look very similar as far as how the graphs are put together. And this just is our special education costs and our transportation costs. So again, this shows this far outpacing the annual percentage increases we can get. And so just like the previous slides, our actual costs for special education would be another $2.1 million in FY25. And then the next bullet kind of describes that what we have been doing. We don't just sit back and say, wow, things are really expensive. We believe very much in keeping our students in district, both from what it means to the services they're going to provide. We think they should be here and think that's the best place for them, but it also happens to be fiscally responsible. So the bottom bullet there, I want to make sure it's framed correctly. We're not saying that we would have done nothing and be $10.7 million. It's somewhere between 0 and $10.7 million. What Jim did for that approximation is take all of our students that are in the programs we have built, take the average out of district costs, do the math, and say if we hadn't built these programs, rough estimate, that's what they would be. Clearly, we wouldn't, probably hopefully no district would have sat on their hands and done nothing. But I would think that we have really gone above and beyond in trying to build as many programs as we can. So it would be somewhere, I would imagine, in the middle of that.
Yeah, our programs are roughly between $20,000 and $30,000 savings per student, based on out-of-district cost and in-district costs. When you start, extrapolating cost of paraprofessionals, teaching, and the number of kids, obviously it's a small group within some of these programs that we've created, so there's a higher cost associated, but, it's certainly $20,000 to $25,000 of savings.
Paul, is this just out-of-district expenses?
No,
Or it's the full special ed programming for the entirety of the district?
Yeah, it's the full special ed, special education that come out of the general fund. Obviously, the reason why we stuck the general fund, I'll just preface this, is because, one, it's the thing that ties most closely to the taxes and the override information, and particularly when it comes to special education costs, it would get very complicated with circuit breaker reimbursement and really trying to tie that to a yearly cost because we get reimbursed in arrears and then we spend it in one more year in arrears. So so keeping it within the general fund is what all of these are doing.
An observation, I don't want to pick at anybody's willing to do all this because
No,
14 degrees over my pay grade. The one thing that I sort of looked at this chart visually, it looks very similar to the first one, but the percentage where you've got the dotted orange line is different, right? It's 7.25%.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a way
To highlight that more.
to show that this is as much a driver, right, in terms of the gap between 2.5% and what special education costs are going up. It seems like that's a significant thing. Not that we're trying to sort of highlight one thing over the other, but just looking at the two charts, you kind of like, okay, it looks like it's consistent, and it's really not. You know, visually it looks that way, but
Yeah. Yeah, and so I have some of these also printed on, stacked on 11 by 17 and laminated, so when we're out in the public, I see these as more support for having talking points and narratives, as opposed to trying to tell the story with them, because the bullet list would have to be much larger, right? You know, because this would go along the lines of, you know, we know next year we're expecting $686,000 increase in our out-of-district costs without sending an additional kid out, right? So, yeah, these are intended to kind of be more supportive than actually the narratives themselves. And then this is our transportation. So just looking at this, FY18 was a contract year. So we had a new contract, and we had to add 3 additional buses that year. So, so this just kind of shows you what the transportation costs are. And these are regulated buses, special education, transportation, and athletic buses. So our totality there.
just out of curiosity, what drove the drop in 17? Like what?
I don't know if you were able to
decreased
get that information, Chris. I know we talked about it, but I can't remember if you had the information.
Drop in 17 or the increase in 17 to 18?
No.
Oh, no, 16 to 17.
See how it goes down a little bit?
I gotta remember, I'm trying to think back.
Goes down a little
Is
before
that
it
maybe
goes
where
up
we
a lot.
introduced fees?
Yep,
For the first year we were offsetting fees?
I feel like that's been going on longer than that.
I don't know if it was a fuel cost adjustment, Mark.
The only-
It's
the
not
only thing I can think
significant.
of might be when did the difference between half day kindergarten and full day maybe? Could that have been
Ooh.
around that time? Because that would-
Yeah, it would have saved us some, right.
That's what we talked about, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be what it is, yeah. And to Jim's point, the difference between those two data, the FY15 and 17 data points
Isn't significant.
is literally like
It's the break in
$100,000.
the curve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
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 I'll stop interrupting.
No, these are all good.
Sorry, just a general question. I'm wondering why the expenditure stays fairly consistent and even increases when we were all in lockdown. Do you know what the?
Because we have a contract, and we still have to pay the
You
contract.
still had to
Yeah,
pay.
all right.
Yeah, and trust me, we wanted to understand
We
that.
negotiated actually a little bit.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
were-
I mean, you see there's a slight dip,
Yeah,
but we negotiated carrying some of the, for lack of a better term, credits forward into the next year, like all districts were doing and having those conversations. Yeah.
That's a good question, though.
Yep.
yeah, no, and we talked about it a lot at the time, like, they have to run a business, and the business has to survive as well, and we have to honor a contract, but also work with them, and so, yeah, we did have conversations with them about that, so. And I put in the last bullet there, we all know this, but maybe people in the community don't, is that we will put these contracts out to bid, and we know we will only get one back. And that's not to say they're not very fair with us, it's just the reality of it, that there is not really any competition when it comes to these contracts.
True statement.
So the next set of drivers were fixed cost. So this is going to look strikingly similar. So this is all fixed costs, so this is town-wide. And again, it shows what it includes. And then also highlight in a bullet down there that while the fixed costs, and the next slide is health insurance, show up as municipal line items, obviously the schools are the biggest participants in those programs, right? We have the overwhelming majority of the employees that participate, so want to just highlight that these are essentially school costs as well. And the next slide will have a little bit more of a narrative on it. We will have a dip in FY17. So we are trying to be good fiscal stewards, and FY17 is when the town switched its administrator to the GIC, saving some money. But as you see, that quickly outpaced the 2.5 line, and that FY24 to FY20, that is only getting steeper, let's put it that way. We expect that to at least be as steep in the next 2 fiscal years. We're in FY26 obviously now, so I could have gotten some data from the town. I stuck with FY25 simply because it's sourced state data. So, and on all these slides where there is data to be driven from the state, the link is where the data comes from, is at the bottom. So people don't need to, if they want to dive into more to the data, the links are at the bottom of that when it's available.
We're looking at this one, and we're seeing the orange dotted line at 3.5%, and the blue line below that. Sorry, thank you. If we're looking at the orange line, dotted line, and it's at 3.5% as an increase, and then the blue line is below that, does that mean that our health insurance costs for that period of time have been going up less than 3.5%?
So those are our expenditures. So essentially, the 3.5 line is to get to FY25 at the same dollar amount, right? Or roughly the same dollar amount. So again, if we did make the switch, this graph would look obviously a lot different. But the only thing that the dotted line is representing is where it ends, and essentially over that entire time shows that even with FY17 going down and stuff like that, if we averaged it, it would far outpace, even with those good decisions where we saved a few $1 million over the course of several years, we end up well above there. And like I said, if I graph this next year, that's going to be, well over $8 million. So it's only getting a lot worse lately. So
Yeah, it is. I know the GIC figures for the upcoming fiscal year are 10.9% increase, and so
Yep.
when you look at this, obviously you are closing that gap in the last year on the chart, where FY24 to 25. That means that actually the increase is much steeper than 3.5%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no, so this is only to FY25, and
Right.
And yeah, I could probably put something supplemental together, because I think the 27 rates just came in a little while ago, and we obviously should know what we're spending in FY26. Now, the other component of that is trying to combine what comes in from the state on Schedule A and what we would have in the system here. It's complicated because there's subsidies, there's lots of different things within the system. So I'm very hesitant to try to combine any of the data, because what's included in the data, if it's different at all, it skews the numbers a lot. So.
And I'm sorry, no, this reflects the town expenditures. As we talked about before, if we're down 40 positions since over the last 8 years,
Right.
that potentially is up to 40 people who are not on health insurance, right? So
Yeah.
you would think,
Exactly, yeah. So if you think about it this way, between FY21, which we peaked at our head count, right? Between that time and FY25, probably at that time, I think we were down 36 or 38 FTEs. So it went up to that with removing probably 10% of the force. So, I mean, that's a good observation. So these are straight expenditures. It's not a per person or per participant, so. And then we get to, those are all our expenditures, and now we get to funding sources. So this goes to something we've talked about a bunch, in that answering a couple of different questions, like one, probably if anybody's been listening over the past 8 10 years, we've been saying that this was coming, right? We've been talking the same things, but why now, right? Why have we been able to make do or do the progress we have in the past, and we can no longer do that, and this will help tell that story. So as we know here, so this is Chapter 70 funding, so that's the state funding for education, our primary source. If you look from FY14 through FY19, that's prior to the implementation of the Student Opportunity Act, which is the state legislation that kind of revamped the formula for how they divvy out the Chapter 70 funding. And we were, for many, many years, being disproportionately affected by that, where like and neighboring communities were getting substantially more funding than us. So you'll see in 3 particular years, in FY20 and FY23 and 24, large increases of $1.5 million or more dollars as that got implemented. So those large expenditures were allowed us, or those large increases allowed us to continue to provide level servicing right during that time without asking for an override. But as now the Student Opportunity Act is fully implemented, you'll see that now I do, on this slide, have FY26, which is our current fiscal year, and FY27 data graphed. You'll see it leveling off substantially. So obviously we know what our FY26 numbers are, and FY27 is preliminary data from the state. So all that is down and can be sourced from the link down there. And that leveling off, if I were to graph that leveling off or down in the bullets, I do say what those increases are. So the FY26 increase is 3.6, and then for FY27, the preliminary is only 1.7% increase of our Chapter 70 funding. Now, hopefully that goes up a little bit, but it's not going to be significant.
So contextually, so just so we put a number to it, it's 100. So in FY26, it's $150 per child. That's what gets us to the 425,000, right? So it's $150 per student. This year, it's budgeted at $75 per student. Okay, so the hope is, as it goes through the legislative process and through the governor's budget and through the Senate, et cetera, the House budget, that number increases. So from a perspective of the superintendent's organization, we're advocating, again, minimum 100, but we'd love to get up to 180. So to increase this would be significant. This is where we were about last year, right? We were in that $200,000 range before town meeting. And then, again, we don't get that budget number until July, right? So we don't know. So I always tell folks who are asking about our percentage increase. Well, because of our policies, that 1.7 million in Chapter 70 that we've received, we actually had an adjustment at fall town meeting because we've received a heck of a lot more than we anticipated, right? So our number may have started out at a 3.75 or 4% increase in the budget, and it got up to 6%. It's because of how we adjusted based on policy and revenue that came in.
Yeah, and to be clear, even if we get,
right,
we advocate and it works, it's nothing that's going to help our current situation. There are no large increases like we saw in those 3 other fiscal years. That's because the Student Opportunity Act is fully implemented.
That's right.
So this is kind of more on the municipal side, but again, showing all the things that put a stress on our budget during our budgeting cycle, because we are all drinking from the same pool, as it were, right? So this just shows unrestricted, this is unrestricted state aid that comes to the town, and it's been 3.25 almost the whole time. And so if you graph this, so I mean, this is, at least it's going up, but it's not going to compete with any of those things. And even that increase over that entire time is not a lot. If you look at the side, we start at, under $1.2 million, and we're about 1.67 at the end. So $400,000 increase over that 12-year period. And then the other variable when it comes to revenue is new growth. So new growth is, so Proposition 2.5 says the levy can go up 2.5% plus new growth. And new growth is any improvements to real property that occur in that fiscal year. So somebody adds a addition onto their house, somebody takes a vacant lot, puts an apartment building on it, the evaluation of that goes up from, say, $100,000 to $1 million. So there's $900,000 of valuation. You take a tax rate of that current year, you do the math, that tax revenue can be added to the levy. So up on top of the 2.5%. And so you'll see here, it's gone down from FY19 significantly. And there's two primary drivers of that. One is certainly the pandemic really halted a lot of development, but we've also made, the community as a whole made conscious decisions to try to slow development. A lot of residents have been very concerned about development, so at town meeting, we've enacted policies to help slow that, and that is impactful as well. There hopefully will be some new growth that is coming online, but when that happens, can't really say. So, and again, we can't really, this is impactful, but it's not something that you want to rely on to bridge the gaps. And then this slide is just trying to simplify what it means for residents and their taxes, right? The average single-family home value, according to the state data linked at the bottom, is $737,000. I try to simplify it. Typically, tax rates don't look like that. They're typically some dollar amount per thousand, but instead of making people do all the math, that's just a number you can take and multiply. You don't need to do all the math there. So, and these will be published. There's a link on there to look up your FY26 valuation. So if you know what that is, you can either do the math or just find it here to get a rough approximation of what the impact would be. I think that was it. Any other questions? So I will make some slides that I do have our enrollment and our FTEs historically over the same time period, and I'll prepare those slides just to at least have them for conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, great stuff.
Excellent work, and that's your new name.
It is.
You're up again.
I
If
am.
nobody has any questions for you.
You haven't
We haven't heard
my
enough
voice
from you yet.
right? All right. Between March 12th, 2026 and March 25th, 2026, I, Paul Kendall, authorized by my signature payables in the amount of $486,769.19. This includes general fund expenses of $404,930.93, revolving expenses of $74,509.89, and grant expenses of $7,265, and meals tax of $63.37. I finally authorized payroll in the amount of $1,456,173.46.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, just a couple things. We're gonna be a standing item over the next few meetings. Obviously, is the budget report and just an update. I have nothing more to report than from the last meeting, other than April 8th will be our official public hearing on the budget, and that has been posted. It's in the Metro West Daily News, so that has been officially taken care of. Tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. And it's online as well as in person here. There will be a conversation with regard to the override. I invite folks to tune in or come here and post questions and ask really what the impact of an override will have on the town. But really the override is focused on the schools, right? And I think that's the conversation that we're having. What will be the impact long-term if we don't pass an override. And I want to be crystal clear when I have conversations. The override to me is about working towards fixing the structural deficit that exists within the funding of public schools as well as communities. And in order to do that, the override is critically important. That also provides opportunities to utilize those one-time funds to support one-time expenses, as opposed to relying on school choice, for instance, to cover salaries. We've had this conversation numerous times. I just can't emphasize it enough. When Mike and I have conversations of a $900,000 plus literacy program that has to come about because we need one that is, in line with the state, in line with good practice, in line with all things that we need to be focused on. Where do we come up with $900,000, right? That's a big ask for a community just to support that. Whereas one-time funds could help, defray those costs over a couple-year period. But if we don't have those funds available because we're spending them on salaries, it's going to be a real challenge for us. So that's the only thing I have from the budgetary standpoint.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mike?
Congratulations to Warren on yet another amazing literacy night. I was able to attend that. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed seeing the students helping me design what they would have fantasy school would look like. Conferences happening this week for our elementary students. We did have a great educator evaluation committee meeting. I gave you an update that we were a little behind, but I feel like we caught up really well the other day. It was a really valuable meeting, and we have sort of crossed a major hurdle where we seem to be in agreement in what we would like the document to look like and how it's going to read moving forward. So now we're looking to create a rubric out of that document. But our Ed Eval committee is back on track, I think. And finally, April 2nd, we have a professional learning opportunity due to an early release day. We are going to be spending the majority of that time for almost all of our staff members to be looking at Power School. As you know, we are moving from iPass to Power School for our student information system. A great deal of professional development and time has to be dedicated to ensure that everyone can successfully transition over to Power School. So while there's certainly other things that we do need to continue to work on in district, this has to be a major priority for us to make sure that it goes smoothly. So all staff will participate, well, the majority of our staff will be participating in that.
Can you just talk a little bit about what kind of information is contained within Power School? I mean, I'm familiar with iPass to the extent seeing like my children's grades are and things like that, but is Power School a more robust product, and what kinds of data points are going to be contained in it, and how is it going to be used?
Yeah, so essentially it's our student information system. So all information regarding any one of our students will be in that program, from registration data to grades. So everything is there, parent contacts, all of our information regarding every student is located there. In terms of like the teacher facing, that's where teacher grades will go. That's where the rank book will go. That will provide them the opportunity to even, they have the opportunity if they want to utilize it for lesson planning and for things like student seating charts and whatnot. There's a lot that they can use within Power School, and that's what we want to show them, all the different things they can do. Jim can probably speak to it a little bit as well, but I give you, that's sort of an overarching, view of what it has.
So part of the switch, Mark, is, and has been, the reasoning behind it is, one, it's not supported at the state level, right? So iPass is not a state certified program. We're one of two districts in the entire Commonwealth that still use iPass. And the move to Power School allows us to really modernize where our student management system is and to ensure all the data. We've struggled for 15, 16 years making sure data is accurate, and whatever we're publishing to the state that really has an impact on Chapter 70 funding, has an impact on, if you're classified students as English learning students or students with special education plans. that data is getting cleaned up now as well. I can't, shout out Gretchen King's, work behind the scenes, and Chris as well, attending these meetings. It seems like every single day. I don't know if it is or not, but I know Gretchen was on for 3 hours yesterday, ensuring the data gets moved forward. So even having conversations, Kelly was on yesterday. What does it look like at the high school? What does the ranks look like? What's the rank book? How do you calculate GPA? How do you have forward-facing information that's distributed to families? We are now moving away from those. If you're at the high school, it's probably the blue form that came home with all the data that you had to cross out, send it back in, and our administrative assistants were sitting there looking through 800 of these to check and verify that all the data was correct. This is now going to be on families to do electronically. Yeah, exactly. I've been promising Linda Cheney for 16 years, and finally we're going to get it done. But it's really, all of the data that Mike collects through Open Architects is really still going to be the data for analyzing test scores, progress of, say, iReady or whatever it is. That's not really the tool for PowerSchool, although it will have some capacity to do those things. Special education, for instance, we are not transitioning into PowerSchool this year. That's a full year process too, because we have to actually input all of the IEPs by hand to ensure they're accurate. So I said to Brett, we'll push that back a year, and instead of moving away from. There are forms, yeah. So it's really time and labor intensive, right? But to ensure it's accurate. So, but as we begin next year, new IEPs, those can be, input as we're going through the process. But it's really exciting. It's just a lot of work. If rolling over one system to another, there's going to be some redundancy for us for a little while. But this is going to be rolled out July 1. So staff can start using it for scheduling and classroom. It's really great.
Thank you. All set? Yeah? Okay. Next up, Chris, student activities, bank reconciliations.
Good evening. Within your packets, there are the FY25 and the first half of FY26 student activity reconciliations. I've reviewed and reconciled the accounts, and I'm requesting your approval to accept the reconciliations.
Do we have a motion or any questions?
I make a motion to approve the account reconciliations presented by Chris Matthew.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, it's hard to believe it's this time of year again. But the Driscoll Scholarship Committee is looking for a school committee member to join. Does anyone need any information on what that is? I think the past few times I've done it, it's been online. Or I think last time I went in person.
Yeah.
But it's just one meeting, takes maybe an hour, right?
Could I impose upon the chair to ask if she'd be willing to do that again? Speaking as a parent of a graduating senior, and knowing a number of the kids in the class, and looking to my left and seeing.
Mike.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm really having a hard time with this tonight. And seeing that there are others at this table.
Yeah, like almost the entire
that are
table.
maybe in the same boat. and might
The
feel
entire
same
table?
way. I'm wondering whether.
I actually was going to offer, I would happily do it, but I'm trying to remember if it happens before my term ends.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah, and so I'd be happy to do it, but we would have to,
It would be before it ends.
the meeting
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
would be before May
13th.
May 19th technically,
Right,
I guess.
correct.
So if we,
because graduation's the 6th,
yeah,
right?
so as long as it's before that, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
whatever that
happy to do
Friday
it.
is. Yeah. We'll make sure it happens.
And I shouldn't speak for
Because
all
you
of
do
you.
have-
No,
I
I was going to
just,
say the same thing, yeah.
Well, I mean, we shouldn't be on a,
You do have
we shouldn't be appointed to a position where we're going to have a conflict of
conflict.
interest.
Yeah, sure. We'll ensure the meeting happens before. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
So I'll move to appoint
Happily do
Lori as the school committee member, representative to the Driscoll School Scholarships Committee.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Lori.
My
Just a reminder,
pleasure.
Chris, let's make sure we contact Corey tomorrow.
Yep, and I just wanted to acknowledge Mary Lou Hunt is also
Yeah.
a participant of this. And then it would be Lauren and Betty, Corey, and myself.
Okay,
I just
awesome.
wanted to
Yeah, and I guess if there's,
Mary Lou is the citizen that
I
participates.
guess I'd just ask if there's any problem whatsoever with the timing, if for some reason the deadlines don't line up, whatever, as long as we can fix that on our April 6th meeting to get somebody else in there. But otherwise, if we can meet before the May 19th, I'm it.
No
I'm in.
problem. Yep.
Okay.
Good catch.
Jim, you want to speak on the WACA item?
Yeah, they're, Barbara Chisholm and Paul Bowden will be coming to the school committee to ask for approval to do a little bit of reconstructing of the TV station at the high school. So if you remember, the high school, when it was built, there is a room that, and designated as a TV station at the time. They had a program when they were at the middle school years ago. And WACA's lease is coming up, and it's become very, very expensive. FCC has pulled a lot of funding, local funding. So they approached me and said, hey, is there anything we can do? Is there a place we can go? And looking, obviously they used to use the middle school, and now we utilize that as our IT area as well as the John Murray and facilities. If I had my druthers, that'd be a great spot for them to go back in because there's already capacity to run any wires they need, et cetera. There's not a lot of time in a studio they need anymore, but also the high school accounts for the majority of the stuff they do, right? Or at the high school, or high school sports, or high school productions. So we did a tour of a couple of facilities, and really that room is at the high school not utilized anymore because we don't have a television program. We use it after school for robotics as part of their area to do their work. We'd have to find a spot for that, for after school. And shout out to robotics. They had an awesome competition and did quite well recently. But WACA, it's a logical place. They're a community organization that I feel like we should support and need to support. And they went in and looked at, okay, what would it cost to fix up that room to meet their needs? So if they have to come in and do some filming. I said, we're not paying for anything. We don't have the funds to do those things. It also has a walled off area so they can have, a control booth there. It's already built in. So they weren't prepared to come tonight with a schematic of what they want to do and how much it would cost. So Barb's hopefully coming back. We'll be ready for the first meeting in April. But it's something I really want to support. And
Absolutely.
like I said, if we could use the middle school, I've got a long-range plan for that too, but that's a ways down the road. So, just an update.
My only question or thing that I guess I'd like to ask you to keep in mind as you work through that issue, it seems like you'll come back to us with some recommendation or request at some point, but just think about the security issues, right? So if folks we're going to have WACA personnel, other people involved in their activities coming to the school building, particularly during the school day, need to make sure that that's...
We have had those conversations, and Kelly's been as part of these conversations as well. And for the most part, it'll be after school hours, but it'll be just like we had here, opportunities for us to controlled environment for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that was really the update.
Okay,
They
awesome.
weren't prepared tonight. So.
Okay, we have some tri-board meeting minutes to review, December 10th and January 21.
They should have been in the consent.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So we just agree, consensus to move it into the consent agenda? Okay. And so now we're there, at the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept it?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done. Reports of school committee members. Abhishek? You're up.
Yes, so at the high school, recently there have been English MCAS that has just wrapped up today morning, as well as Seal of Biliteracy testing for our seniors and juniors, in which they can prove proficiency in a secondary language other than English by taking a test and getting a little badge on their diploma saying that they're proficient in that language. Additionally, we have had the beginning of spring sports really start to kick off, and the first game should be coming up soon. So I'll be sure to let you guys know when those start popping up. But that's pretty much it at the high school. Looking forward to some days we have off soon.
Always? Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Marcy?
I attended middle school site council today. A couple school updates, MCAS next week and week after. They had a very successful popcorn fundraiser and raised $20,000.
Wow.
Well, they raised $40,000, $20,000 they get to keep, which is going to offset
popcorn.
I was going to say,
field
somebody
trip,
bought a
only
lot
a
of popcorn.
4-day fundraiser,
Wow.
going to offset field trip expenses for each of the 3 grades, which is great. Unified basketball started, and the Jamboree's next week, and Ashland is hosting, so they said that's been just awesome. Keefe Tech, they filled 16 spots, they got 16 spots all filled, they had over 40 applicants, so. Anyway, so that was good. And then they are working through a grade analysis, which I think is really well done, and Erin's going to present it to the faculty tomorrow. But and I'm sure she's going to come present it to all of us, but the goal is to break down grades between the concepts of academic mastery and then habits of learning. And so as you tier up in the grades, like, so 6th grade, you'd have more emphasis on habits of learning, which is like, I, am a good steward, and, work ethic is good, and I listen to my teacher, and I turn in my homework, and that's work ethic. And as you go up to 8th grade, that percentage ramps down. And the mastery of learning is your tests and your quizzes and really exhibiting that, you're fulfilling your and demonstrating academic success. And it's very, very clear. It sounds like there's a lot of spirited discussion amongst the faculty, but I, as a parent listening to this for the first time, I think it's a great step forward again at the middle school. And the ultimate goal is to get them ready for high school. So, which I think is a great end goal. So lots of good things happening at the middle school.
Awesome, thank you. Great update from them. And you?
I don't think I have anything to add since our last meeting.
You've been a little busy. You've been a little busy.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much. I mean, I did happen to stumble upon Literacy Night at Warren. I haven't been in that building nearly as much as I would like to. It's always great to be back in those buildings. But yeah, aside from that, I don't think I have too much.
Yeah, I don't have anything either. The last site council meeting was just before our last meeting, so I reported out on that. I don't have anything for tonight.
And nor do I. So I will be looking for a motion to adjourn.
You've got one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.